Alright, this is going to be a review of the Fnatic streak65 mini, I'm pretty sure. And this is a 65% keyboard you can get on Amazon for like $110. It is low profile and uses the Kale Chalk V2 switches. These are they do market these switches very gamery. They say they're the fastest switches on the market. These are the same switches, just a little bit updated than the ones on the G915 and the G913, I think it is, the wired version of the G915. But these are the same exact switches, and you can get these switches to put on a compatible PCB. They are only compatible with low profile PCBs, but you can get these switches aftermarket. So if you don't want to get this, you could get just the G915 or get whatever else. And just put these switches on it. But this is a low profile keyboard, as I said, so it is going to be very flat on the ground. And all you get in the box is a really bad rubber cable and the keyboard. That's it. ABS keycaps, Fnatic orange stabilizers, and the switches are also Fnatic orange, and we'll get into those in a little bit. But the RGB is pretty bright. It does have software. It's not very good. I would not recommend downloading it at all because you do have the functions. You do have a second layer of functions under the keycaps. So I'll take this keycap off, and you can see it says F1 on the side of it. All these keycaps, or at least a good, I would say about half of them, have another command on the bottom of them. And how you actuate that is you press FN and then you press the switch. So if I press FN and 1, it will activate F1. If I press FN and 1, you'll get F1. If I press FN and this key right here, I will activate scroll lock. So yeah. As I said, the keycaps are ABS. They shine very quickly. They're pretty bad. But I do really like the low profile nature of them, and you can replace them, but low profile keycaps are pretty expensive. If you want to get like PBT ones, they are pretty pricey. But going on to the switches, they are pretty scratchy, and they aren't dampened. A lot of people thought these were dampened because they're very quiet. They are not dampened. They've said they are not dampened, and they don't feel dampened at all. They are pretty scratchy, and they don't feel the best. But something about them, I think, makes them just so enjoyable. I don't know if it's the bottom out distance. The bottom out distance is 3.2 millimeters, and the actuation point is 1.0 millimeter. So combining this bottom out distance and actuation, it's almost instant. So I would say this keyboard does, in certain situations, feel faster than an Apex Pro, because with the Apex Pro you do have to still travel 4 millimeters, or about 3.8, and with this you're traveling 3.2 millimeters. It literally feels like you press the switch down and you're hitting the bottom, and I'm not exaggerating. So if you're playing a game where you have to spam a certain key, like a game like Fortnite, this will, I think, benefit you. This will 100% benefit you in certain situations. Or like if you are a very heavy-handed player, like, and you have to peek a corner in Valorant, I think this will 100% benefit you. And that's like, I think, one of the first times I've actually felt this way about a keyboard being able to benefit you. But going on to another downside is the stabilizers. They are so horrible, and I don't know why they did this, but on reviewer copies, like the ones that got sent out for pre-release review, that got sent to like Bad Seed and Brandon Taylor, the stabilizers were lubed. They heavily lubed them. On the copies that you actually get, they do not lube them. So I think that was a little bit of false marketing. They are pretty bad. Like, yeah. My backspace is pretty good, but everything else is pretty bad. Like, they rattle a ton, and you can feel the rattle. It's not just like they're rattling. You can feel the rattle, like, in-game. It feels very scratchy when you press the stabilized keys down. And the switches themselves are pretty scratchy, but they're just so enjoyable to use. Like I can't get over it. And the typing profile, I thought, or the profile of the keyboard, I thought was going to be a huge adjustment, but it really wasn't. It took me a little bit to get used to it, but once I got used to it, it was extremely comfortable. And my left wrist, I kind of like messed up. Like I have a few scars on my arm. I had to get surgery, so it was very comfortable. It did hurt my right wrist a little bit while I was getting used to it, but in the end, it was a very comfortable angle, and it didn't take that much time to get used to. And I wish more keyboards would come out with lower profile layouts, or lower profile, you know what I mean, angles, I guess you could say, because this is a extremely nice angle. I really wish more companies would come out with low profile keyboards. It's just such a good option, especially with people with like wrist issues and stuff like that. I'm not going to drag this video out, but overall, I think this keyboard is 100% a buy for $110 if you are interested in something like this. It's not going to be for everybody. If you are doing a mixed, like if you want to balance a keyboard with gaming and typing, I would stray far away from this keyboard. But if you are strictly gaming, this is a very nice keyboard. Or if you have a keyboard for typing already and just want one for gaming, I would 100% recommend this. But for typing, it's not the best experience, just because of the stabilizers and the keycaps. And you really can't be heavy-handed on this, or you're just going to bother your wrist because you're hitting so hard against just a plate. But for gaming, 100% recommend. Typing, I would just look somewhere else. But yeah, the pros of this are 100% the switches, the typing, or the angle, I would say, the lightweight, like how portable it is. The only downside to that is, or the body of the keyboard, I should say, is it gets dirty so quick. This is 100% a downside. You cannot clean this. It just stains. Like oil just stains it. I don't know what that is. That is 100% a downside. It's gonna look horrible, like extremely nasty after a certain amount of time. The stabilizers, as you can hear, are just horrible. And the keycaps are a downside, but I think the switches just 100% make it worth it, I would say, especially at the price point of $110. But that's the end of my video. Peace.